What's up, everyone? It is your girl GELBEAUTY87 here, aka Grace, and it's time to rank all of my Natasha Denona palettes. So if you all remember, a while ago, I think it was the beginning of this year, I ranked all of my Natasha Denona minis. So I thought it'd be fun to go back today and rank the midis and the big full-size palettes. So that's what we're gonna do today. So I have 15 or 20 from what I just counted. Let me double check. 3, 4. So I have 15 full-size Natasha Denona palettes, and full-size and midi palettes combined. We're going to talk about them today. So without further ado, let's get into it. So number 15, I feel like should be no surprise to anyone. I'm not counting the Tropic palette because I, what do you call it? I dismantled mine, so that's why I said 15. There have been 16 with the Tropic palette, but I dismantled it and put all the lighter shades that don't work for me somewhere else. So 15 is the the midi pastel palette. So this one just doesn't do it for me. I like the mini pastel palette better, even though it only gives you like one matte and a whole bunch of shimmers. I don't know what it was, but like all the shades oxidized and looked the way they looked in the pan, which is what disappointed me. Aside from the fact that I don't feel like the formula in this is that great. And then it has repeat shades, like the shade Mini Frost is a repeat shade. And I think it was one other shade in here that was a repeat from what I remember. Yeah, Limoncello. So Limoncello and Mini Frost are from the Tropic palette that I just talked about, and I just wasn't that impressed with this. Like some of the shimmers in here are okay, but it's like overall I can get these pastels from other brands that I feel like did a better job. So that's why it's dead fast, because it's just not giving and I'm not living. It was a disappointment. Number 14 is the Natasha Denona Midi Retro Glam palette. This one's just kind of a little bit too ashy and doesn't really do too much for my skin tone. If you all saw, I like the Mel Thompson bundle better because I feel like when they oxidize it, it looks better on people my skin tone. So with this one, it was just like, I don't feel like it works for my skin tone as well as some other palettes I have with the same type of color story to it. Like for example, the Millennial Pinks that I recreated, if you all remember, and then there's the Kaleidos Flower Pump. So it's like I just have other color stories that are similar to this that I feel like do a better job on my skin tone. So that's why it wasn't it for me. But that's not to say the quality of this palette is bad. It's just it wasn't giving and I wasn't living for myself, because I feel like there's very limited looks I can do with it because of the type of tones that are in the palette. So number 13, we have the Love Face palette. I'm including this because it has eyeshadows and face products. If you all know, then you know this is what it looks like. You all remember I did a whole video saying why you didn't need it. I bought it just to see if the eyeshadow formula was going to be the same and if the face formula was going to be the same, because I heard people saying like this pink blush up here wasn't giving the way it was supposed to. It was okay. It wasn't all that. Like I prefer the original one she came out with at first, which you'll see a little bit higher up because they have better quality. It's not this quality is bad. It's just I have so many of these eyeshadows from her over and everybody's coming out with a pink blush right now. So it's like there was no real need for this, but it's like I know it's supposed to be Valentine's themed and it came out around that time if I remember correctly. So it's like that's why I'm assuming, you know, she came out with it, but I just wasn't that impressed with it. So everything from now on I like. It's just I had to rank the stuff somewhere because I was just like, you know, I tried to do it based upon what I use the most and what type of tones I like as opposed to other tones. So I feel like the top 5 or 10 you shouldn't be surprised by at all. But this is number 12. So number 12 is the Sunrise palette, the Midi Sunrise palette. If you know anything about me, then you know I'm not really that big on warm tones. So needless to say, this one wasn't doing it for me because I'm not a warm tone lover. Like, she's okay, she's cute, you know, she has some nice tones to her and whatnot, like the cute little pop of purple. I like the little bit of reddish shades in here, but overall this just isn't my type of color story. That's why I didn't buy the Sunset palette. I originally bought this because it's the first one she came out with, and I wanted to see if the quality on these was going to be the quality of the bigger 129 palette. So that's how, honestly, how I ended up with this. I wasn't crazy about getting it. The format in it is really nice though, so I'm glad it wasn't like those minis when she first came out. People said she was trying to lower the quality on the formula of the minis and, you know, wasn't giving us what we deserved, but that one worked just fine for me. So next, what did I say that was? So we got 11. So number 11 is the Retro palette, or the Midi Retro palette. This is the original Retro that came out before the Retro Glam. So this is what mine looks like on the inside. As you can see, I replaced this shade right here. It was like one of those bone color shades that I don't ever use for anything and can't really use too much. So I just added this shimmer shade from another brand and stuck it in there because I feel like it gave the palette a nice little pop to it. That was interesting because a lot of the other pops just seem to be like the ballerina pink that kind of matches the packaging, and I wanted a fun bright pink to add with all these deeper grungier tones, so that's what I added. But otherwise the palette is in its original condition. I like this palette okay. It's just more of, you know, like I have so many palettes like this to choose from, and when I use tones like this, I have a tendency to reach for my Huda Beauty palettes instead. So that's why it got ranked where it had ranked. Plus you got to remember that my Dream palette came out, and I like that one just a little bit more, so you'll see that one a little bit later. So number, what is this, number 10? No, number 9. Yeah, I think this is number 9. God, who knows. Next we have the Glam Face palette. I have the one in dark. If y'all remember, there was a light one and it was a dark one. I always feel bad when I look at this because I'm like, Karen Harris had to buy both of them because she wasn't sure which one was going to work for her, because there wasn't a medium one like there should have been. If you can make a dark one and make a light one, you should have been able to make like a tan one. I feel like there should have been a fair light one, a medium tan one, and then a dark deep one. But be that as it may, this is what it looks like. The quality of this is really nice. I like the face products in here. That's why this one got ranked at number, what is it, 9, higher than the other ones, just because I really like everything that's going on with this right here. She's giving, I'm living. So I know you're probably shocked that this got ranked higher than some other stuff just because of its color story, but it's like quality of all the products and the fact that I can use it as a quick go-to in an emergency is why it got ranked higher than some of the other things you saw. Plus I like the quality of that a little bit better than some of the other things you saw. Well, not necessarily quality, but like I said, it's good in a pinch basically. So number, what is it, number 8 is the the Safari palette. I don't know why I said Biba palette. I would never buy that. But yeah, this is what it looks like on the inside. I took one shade out of this, I'm pretty sure. I only took one shade up. I'm pretty sure it was like a bone colored shade that I couldn't use because I feel like I replaced this shade right here with something else. I know it was one of the shades in here I replaced with something else because it was too light and wouldn't work for my skin tone. But everything else is the original from this palette as far as I remember. But yeah, so I like this one a lot. I like to pair this one with the Decadence palette from McGrath because I feel like it has nice mattes to go with those jewel toned shimmers that she has. So I'll usually pair this with that one, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I know the late great Mel Thompson was not a fan of it. She said it was horrible. She tried to do like a whole look with the gray set, and it ended up not working out well for her. So she actually returned the palette. So I was like, ooh. She had me scared for a little bit, but I was brave and I bought it anyway, and it turned out working out nice for me. So that's why I got the number 8 spot. So number 7 is the Midi Zendo palette. I know a lot of people didn't like this palette. I actually liked it just fine. My only thing is I wish it had more cool tone. I feel like the warm tones kind of dominate the majority of this palette, and that's why I was kind of like about it. And I feel like the shimmer formula isn't the same as in other ones, which I feel like is another reason people weren't that crazy about this. It wasn't like the wet metallic formula that you're used to. It's kind of more toned down and subtle, so you have to build it up a bit, wet the brush when you put it on your eyelid and all that. So I'm feeling like maybe that's why people didn't like it as much. I still like this palette though. I think it's a nice palette. Like I said, I love the cool tone section. The warm tone section is okay, but I liked it better than the Sunrise palette because it had the cool tone and warm tone section, whereas y'all know Sunrise is all warm tone. So that's why this one got to be ranked higher, even though the shimmers in it aren't giving as much as I was hoping to. Okay, y'all, we down to like the nitty gritty. So number 6 is the Natasha Denona Trio Chrome palette. I was excited about this because she gave us some trio chromes. I like the colors that she chose in this palette. I took one of the shades out of here because it didn't necessarily work for my skin tone that well and replaced it with something else. I don't remember which one it is though, but I knew I took one of them out here just because I didn't like the color that it was giving. I want to say it's this one right here just because I feel like this doesn't necessarily blend in with the rest of what's going on with the palette, but I honestly don't remember. I feel like it was this one or this one. It's one of these two that I took out and changed, but that's the only thing I changed. Everything else in here is originally from this palette. Oh wait, no, I'm lying. I took the shade Limoncello and put it in here as well to have nice colors to go with these greenish yellow tones at the top. But yeah, I like this palette. I like to use this when I want to use bougie luxury trio chromes, and I feel like this makes really nice looks. So that's how it got to be number, was that 6? No, number 7, sorry. Number 6 is the Metropolis palette. I have not used this that much, believe it or not. I had it here to do a battle with another indie brand palette to see if they would be similar, since that indie brand palette, of course, is going to be more affordable than the Natasha Denona, plus this was the limited edition thing. So that's another reason why I'm kind of just like, you know, didn't get this when it first came out because it had the cream to powder formula, and I didn't know she had perfected it finally. Because if you all remember, like the first two, like the cranberry palette, it was not giving and people returned it and we just thought it was a malfunction when really she was trying the cream to powder formula. So then she tried the Love palette and I wasn't necessarily crazy about it. I learned to adjust with that one. So when this one came out, I was like, she keeps trying to do this cream to powder and make it a thing. It's like Fetch. It's not a thing. Stop. It's not going to be a thing. But it ended up being a thing when she finally got it together. But I didn't like being a guinea pig for the first two palettes. So I was just like, I'm not buying this. But everybody and their mama kept raving about how wonderful this is. I mean, everyone and their mom was talking about this palette. So when it finally came back out again, I was like, well, let me get it and see what all the fuss is about. And the quality on this is definitely much nicer than the one in the Love palette. So I can see why everybody likes this so much. So I'm glad to have it in my collection. I do think it gives a nice good variety of colors. The only thing is I feel like this navy blue and then this green shade look really similar when you put them on the eye, so that's kind of disappointed me. And then this shade right here, I feel like all three of the deepest tones in here end up looking the same on the eye, so it doesn't give enough contrast. So that's why this one's lower than it is, because it has nothing to do with the quality. It's just you don't have that many darker outer V shades and then all of them kind of blend together and look similar on the eyes, in my personal opinion, unless you're lighter. So if you're darker, like the darker shades, when you put them on, they all look the same in my personal opinion, which is why this palette had to be number 6. Now my top 5, I feel like you shouldn't be surprised about, just because of the type of color stories I like and the formulas I liked in the Natasha Denona palettes I have raved about in the past. But number 5 is of course the My Dream palette. I told you all you would see it again later as opposed to the retro palette. I like this one better than the retro palette. I mean, the retro palette gives you nice mauve palette tones, but I like the fact that this gives you like some more peachy like nudes, if you will. It gives you like nice deep grungy berry section here. So I like the variety of this palette better than that one. I feel like the retro is a little monochromatic, and I like a little bit of more variety that I get out of this palette. So that's how this one got to be number 5. Plus you got this nice shade Black is Black in here to go with all these things and to deepen up all these shades. So if you don't necessarily want to use the cream formula, you can use the black shade and put it with anything and make a nice smoky look, or you can use a lot of the neutrals and make it work for you however you choose to. So that's why I prefer this one over the retro. Plus it has, you know, this cool dual chrome shifting shade here, so I was all about that as well. So that's how this one got to be number 5, because it was giving and I was living. Number 4 is actually the newest one that she came out with, the Yucca or the Yucca palette. I've heard it said 2 different ways, so I'm not exactly sure, but this is what it looks like on the inside. Y'all know I love a green moment, so I feel like you shouldn't be surprised that this was in here and it's as high as it is, because, you know, look at these greens. This camel shade, it's definitely a gorgeous shade. For me, it's more of an inner corner shade, because when I tried to use it on its own, it wasn't giving. But I feel like if I put it with the camel liner, it'll probably do better on some of my skin. So I plan on doing that, because in my haul that I did, that you all should see before this, I showed you I bought the camel liner because Karen Harris was raving about how wonderful it were. So I was like, okay Karen, say less. And then I grabbed it when it came back to Sephora finally. I like this dual chromia shade going on here with the kind of flakes to it. I will say though, I've said it before, I feel like they should have put a like brighter matte orange in here. I feel like that would have been a nice pop instead of this weird cream to powder yellow shade. I'd rather have an orange. And then instead of one of these green shades, like instead of this greenish poopy kind of shade right here, since you have this one right here, you could have made that like the orange I was talking about. But otherwise, the quality is nice. The palette is nice. It's really similar to some other stuff that's come out on the market now, but I like it. So that's what made it number 4. Number 3 is my beloved Love palette. This is the one I was telling y'all about that I was so in love with, that I like the best out of all my middies. If I had to pick between all my middies, I feel like this would be easily top 5 for me. Well, I mean, it's the last midi I have to show you. The other 2 are like full-size palettes, so that says everything that needs to be said. I love this color story. The funny thing is, so when I first tried this palette, I did not like the formula. But I told y'all she was still doing the cream to formula and still cream to powder formula and still testing it out. So I feel like this cream to powder in here wasn't as good as the Metropolis was, but the Metropolis came out later in the year for the holiday after this one did, so I guess she had perfected and got it better. But when I first tried this, I was not a fan. If you saw my first impressions on this, because you're real OG, first of all, shout out to you, but I was not necessarily a fan of this at that time. But you know, I have grown to love it and like it for what it is. So this is my number 3. This is one of the palettes I reach for when it comes to like romantic vibes, because I got a cute little purple moment. Then you have like the nice reddish and berryish and light pink tones that you would use for like a romantic look. So when I want to do a luxury romantic look and I don't feel like pulling out any Divine Rose palettes, that's the one I go to. Number 2 It's my Natasha Denona Gold palette. I feel like y'all should have known this was in here. This is actually the first $129 palette I bought from Natasha Denona. I feel like this shade looks really similar to the shade in the Yucca palette though, or Yucca palette. I'm so sad though, because y'all, this gold fell out on me a couple of times, so that's why I'm holding the palette the way I am and have my hand close by, because I don't want it to fall out on the floor. The good thing is when it does fall out, it falls out in one piece, so it's not like it separates and breaks and then I can't keep it in there, because then I'd be sad. But this is what she looks like. She's stunning, she's giving, I'm living. I love this palette. I have great memories with it because it's my first full-size Natasha Denona. I think I bought this one in the Huda Beauty New Nudes. It's my first full-size palette from those two brands before I started buying from them regularly, and it just holds great memories with me. But number one, I feel like nobody's surprised about. Did you really think Circo Loco wasn't going to be number one? Natasha finally put some colorful mattes and some color in our lives and made a full-on blown color palette, so y'all knew it was going to be number one. So if you all remember, I custom changed and made mine to look more like a cotton candy mermaidish type vibes. Like it's kind of giving the vibes of the Laura palette from Blend Bunny. That was the vibes that I feel like I gave. Now I did make this before the Blend Bunny palette came out, so I wasn't inspired by that palette. It was just colors that I thought looked good together. So I took fun shades out of my Tropic palette and basically put them in here and made my Circo Loco look like this. So this is the Tropic palette and the Circo Loco palette combined to make this look. So this is Mint Frost from was it Tropic. This blue is from Tropic. I think it's called Laguna. This purple I'm pretty sure is from Tropic, and this green right here is from Tropic. Is anything else from Tropic in here? I feel like that's all I took from Tropic, but I feel like that's enough. But I feel like this color story just looks so gorgeous till I was like, I have to have this palette in my life. And then I made the adjustments that I needed to make it be what I wanted it to be. Because if you all know, then you know I'm not really big on orange. Even though I just complained about there not being orange in the Yucca palette, but I feel, or Yucca palette, but I just feel like in that palette it's needed because of all the other stuff going on. Like when you think of Safari, you think of the oranges and the greens and the other stuff, and the fact that they only have that one kind of muted orange was kind of disappointing to me. But those are all my rankings of all my Natasha Denona palettes, all 15 of them. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds. Comment down below and tell me what your favorite ones were, or what order you would rank yours in if you had to, because girl, it was real difficult. I was sitting here like I could change this at any moment's notice. I don't know. Oh, by the way, I probably should have said this at the beginning, but if you're curious what's on my eyes, this is a palette mashup between the Annette and Menagerie Cosmetics palette. Y'all remember when she made the palette with them? I think it's called Butterflies. Don't quote me, but you can't get that palette anymore. And then I used the new Shroud Cosmetics palette that you all saw the video for today. So y'all saw that on July the 16th. And I just combined them together to make the eye look that we have going on right here. Y'all know I love me a blue purple moment. So of course I was going to use the blue purple shades in the palette as soon as I got a chance to. But yeah, like I said, be blessed, girl. Bye.